African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoy, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of December 9, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue to conduct a special military operation. Units of the North Group of Forces inflicted a defeat on the formations of mechanized, Eagle, airborne assault brigades, assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine, 3 brigades of territorial defense and a border detachment in the areas of the settlements of Rzevka, Andriivka, Varakino, Iskra-Skopshina, and Ivalzansko in the Sumy region. In the Kharkiv direction, a defeat was inflicted on the units of 3 mechanized, motorized infantry brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements of Vetranarno, Staritsa, and Vilcha in the Kharkiv region. The enemy lost up to 235 servicemen, 5 armored combat vehicles, 13 vehicles, 6 field artillery guns, 5 ammunition and material depots. Units of the West Group of Forces continue to destroy the surrounded group of forces of the armed forces of Ukraine on the left bank of the Oskol River. A defeat was inflicted on the manpower and equipment of 3 mechanized assault brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements of Kupiansk-Zlovoy, Gleshkovka, Kovsharovka, Podoli in the Kharkiv region and Drobashevo in the Donetsk People's Republic. The armed forces of Ukraine lost more than 220 servicemen, a tank, 7 armored combat vehicles, including the U.S.-made Stryker armored personnel carrier and the Canadian-made Senator armored vehicle, 12 vehicles, 2 artillery guns, an electronic warfare station, and 4 ammunition and material depots were destroyed. Units of the South Group of Forces took more advantageous lines and positions. Russian troops hit 3 mechanized brigades, 1 airmobile brigade, 1 mountain assault brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine, 1 marine brigade, 1 territorial defense brigade, and 1 National Guard brigade near Seversk, Platinovka, Stepanovka, Minkovka, and Konstantinovka, Donetsk People's Republic. The armed forces of Ukraine losses amounted to up to 135 troops, 6 armored fighting vehicles, including 1 U.S.-made Stryker armored personnel carrier, and 1 Canadian-made Senator armored vehicle have been neutralized. In addition, 12 motor vehicles, 2 artillery guns, 1 electronic warfare station, and 4 ammunition and material depots were eliminated. Units of the Center Group of Forces improved the situation along the front line. The group's units inflicted fire damage on manpower and hardware of 5 mechanized brigades, 1 Jaeger brigade, 1 airmobile brigade, 2 air assault brigade, 3 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine, 3 marine brigades, 1 territorial defense brigade, and 4 National Guard brigades close to Volnoy, Vadianskoy, Belitskoy, Rodinskoy, Torskoy, Grishino, Sergievka, Novokrovorzy, Donetsk People's Republic, and Novopavlovka, Dnepropetrovsk region. In Dmitrov, Donetsk People's Republic, the assault detachments of the 51st Army continued to neutralize the enemy's encircled formations in the Vostochny and Zapadny microdistricts. The enemy lost more than 445 troops, 2 armored fighting vehicles, 5 motor vehicles, and 1 artillery gun. Units of the East Group of Forces liberated the populated locality of Ostapovsko in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Defeat was inflicted on the manpower and equipment of 2 mechanized brigades, 2 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine and a brigade of territorial defense in the areas of the populated localities of Varvarivka, Kosovstvo, Guliapol in the Zaporizhia region and Andriivka in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The losses of the armed forces of Ukraine amounted to more than 210 servicemen, a combat armored vehicle, 6 vehicles, and a warehouse of material resources. Units of the Dnieper Group of Forces inflicted a defeat on the formations of a mechanized brigade and a coastal defense brigade of the armed forces of Ukraine in the areas of the populated localities of Novoandriivka, Lukyanovsko in the Zaporizhia region and Nikolsko in the Kherson region. Up to 40 servicemen, 13 vehicles, a radio-electronic warfare station, and 2 warehouses of material resources were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, attack unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the armed forces of the Russian Federation inflicted a defeat on a military industry enterprise of Ukraine, energy infrastructure facilities used in the interests of the armed forces of Ukraine, an assembly shop and storage sites of long-range unmanned aerial vehicles, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 157 districts. Air defense of Russia shot down a Su-27 aircraft of the Ukrainian Air Forces. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, the following have been destroyed: 669 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 101,411 unmanned aerial vehicles, 639 anti-aircraft missile systems, 26,467 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,627 MLRS combat vehicles, 31,815 field artillery and mortar guns, 48,692 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.